All right, we are live. What's up, everybody? 1212 in the place to be. I am Frank Red, and this is another edition of the In the Dungeon Show. And I want to thank you off the top for joining me tonight. Maybe the busiest sports weekend that we have of the year. Certainly one of the top weekends, and we're going to talk about a lot of different things. We're going to be on from 60 to 90 minutes, depending upon the flow of the show. But I'm excited to talk to you and share ideas about what's going on in the world of sports. No question about that. Just my screen. You're watching for the first time. What's up? How you doing out there? As I said, my name is Frank Red, and this is the In the Dungeon Show. You check it out and you want to subscribe, just hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Certainly hit the like button because it helps the show, no doubt, get out to other folks with regards to the algorithm. We really appreciate it. Also, hit me up at Big Frank Red on X, Twitter, depending upon what you go by. I think most people at this point have transitioned to the term X, and it's become more and more normal. So you know what to do. That's really the only social media tool that I use. Beyond that, just go to YouTube and check out the show. We got quite a few of them for you to check out. But right now, the focus is on what's taking place currently. At the top, I'm going to give a big shout out to the New York Liberty, who won their first WNBA championship in overtime. Was it 62 to 60, 67 to 62, I believe. Was not a pretty game. And I didn't watch all of it. I was busy doing some other things, but I did check out some of it. And I know they won the championship. It's cool when you go 1 for 19, like Sabrina Ionescu did, and still win a chip. So no one can take that from you. I'm happy for those ladies and for everybody associated with that organization. And hopefully it's a good omen for my New York Knicks, who haven't won since 1973. I don't have to remind New York Knicks fans about that because I know you know, but it speaks to our loyalty. Think about New York right now. The Mets just lost to the Dodgers in 6 games. They almost made it to the World Series. They did make it to the playoffs. Good for them, because nobody thought that the Mets would even be in the playoffs. You go back to June, they were barely 500. And the Yankees haven't won since 2009. So to see them get right after after not winning a championship in, what was that, 15 years, that's very un-Yankee-like. But they have so many players to thank for that. Carlos Stanton, Soto, obviously the big fella, so I'm rooting for the Yankees against the Dodgers. I know a lot of people who listen to this program are rooting for the Yankees as well, because you don't like the Dodgers if you're a Giant fan. So you can talk a little baseball if you want. I think Major League Baseball wins. When you look at all of the strife around what baseball doesn't do right, the Oakland A's leaving, the game losing younger fans. It's an opportunity to really do some good things. And hopefully that's going to happen, because I'm going to watch some games. It should be riveting. A lot of stars in this World Series between the New York Yankees and the LA Dodgers. And you generally don't see that, but this should be an action-packed World Series, and the numbers should be good. All right. San Francisco 49ers today lost to the KC Chiefs 28-18, and by the end, the game wasn't that close. There were periods within the game in which it was very, very competitive, but it got away from the 49ers. Now, throughout the week, a lot of the talking heads, myself included, commented on what does this game mean? And to me, this was not a must-win by the 49ers. This was a temperature check. All right, how good are we? We're going up against the 5-0 two-time reigning champion, KC Chiefs. Where do we stand? Our nemesis in the Super Bowl, the 49ers lost in overtime last year. How good are we? And I think they got a decent indication of where they are. Now, some fans might be ready to throw in the towel, jump off the bridge, all of those quirky sayings, metaphors that folks use about their particular teams. Next week is a must-win game against the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys have not been this porous in terms of talent in quite some time. They got one wide receiver. They got a quarterback. They don't have a running back. Their most ferocious pass rushers are injured. Will they come back next week? I don't know. I think it's too early to tell. But Dallas comes in as literally one of the worst teams in the NFL. Even though their record doesn't necessarily say that, they're 3-3, this is not a good football team. The 49ers need to find a way to get right against the Dallas Cowboys. I'm just being honest. A lot of people hate the Cowboys. I'm ambivalent about the Cowboys, but I like Dak Prescott. And I would love to see Dak play well, but I would like to see the 49ers win for a lot of different reasons, you know. The 49ers have dealt with as much adversity as anybody this year. If reports are correct, Brandon Ayuk is done for the year. Torn Achilles or ACL? I think it's ACL. Obviously, no one is happy about seeing a player get injured. I'm certainly not. But there's a certain finality about this situation. Brandon Ayuk has not been right all year. Contract squabbles. I do not like contract squabbles between organizations and players. I don't like it. Particularly when I think a player has gone out and done his or her job. The numbers that Ayuk got are pretty much what the market says that he deserves. But he missed the entire training camp. If the 49ers were going to pay him, why not pay him 6 weeks earlier? Because I don't even think that he was mentally all there. And anybody who's played football is a death match. Every play, every Sunday, your life is on the line. And once Ayuk got paid, guess what? There was a couple of catches that he didn't really. I saw one in particular. Brock Purdy was under duress. I believe it was the second quarter. Over the middle. And Ayuk kind of raised his hand and the ball sailed over his head. A couple of series before that, you saw George Kittle reach up and grab the ball and corral it in. We've seen Ayuk make a lot of tough catches. But I didn't think that he stretched out totally for that pass. And there's a lot of reasons why. Maybe he might disagree with me. That's what I saw. On the play that he got hurt, he knew that he was going to get smacked pretty good. And yet, he still did what all pro caliber receivers do. He put his body on the line, made a tough catch, and unfortunately, he took a tough hit that was legal. It wasn't dirty, but it was very dangerous, and it cost him his season. That's football. That's why you got to get the money. You know, but it hurts the 49ers. Brock Purdy looked a lot today like Jimmy G. Is he Jimmy G? No, he's not. This is the worst game that Brock Purdy has played since he has been a legitimate starter. And oh, by the way, he was going up against one of the best defenses in all of the NFL. That's not by mistake. Steve Spagnuolo, he might be the first defensive coordinator to make the Hall of Fame. Now, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe there's some other coaches who were exclusively defensive coordinators who are in the Hall of Fame. I don't know, but he might. But he might make the Hall of Fame. That's how impactful. That's how good he is as a defensive coordinator. Not so good as a head coach, but that's okay. He's the guy who was a defensive coordinator of the New York Giants when they knocked off the undefeated New England Patriots team. He's been in KC now for 6 years, and they've won 2 Super Bowls. He's outstanding. And he had a game plan for the 49ers. I knew the 49ers were in trouble, or I was concerned when Steve Spagnuolo came out midweek and said that when he looked at the tape and he saw Brock Purdy, he didn't see any weaknesses. Uh-oh. You know, he was lining the game plan up at that point. And I think it centers around a couple of things. Brock Purdy can escape duress, but he is not a running quarterback. And in this NFL, you gotta be not quite a dual threat quarterback, but you gotta be able to run for yards. And I understand why the 49ers don't want to put him in harm's way, because they don't feel confident, I think, about the backup quarterbacks behind him. And rightfully so. And he could get seriously hurt. He's not a big guy. And with all that said, even with the pressure, he didn't have a great game today. He didn't even have a good game by his standards. I'm okay with that. Nobody plays great all the time. But teams are scouting the 49ers. And you can question whether or not everybody, player for player, are locked in. That's how this team has historically been successful. Everybody is locked in. Next man up. When I watched today's game, I saw the kid, Mustafa, the rookie safety out of, I believe, Wake Forest. Homeboy was locked in. 12 total tackles, 8 solo tackles. I'm going to say this. When Mufunga comes back, or if he comes back, he's competing with Jair Brown for the other safety position. Mustafa's not coming out. He deserves to be a starter. Dude's balling. And George Kittle had a fabulous game today. 92 yards, I believe 6 catches, blocking, fearless on the football field. So you got some guys who are locked in. Jacob Cowing, the rookie wide receiver, 4th round pick, finally got an opportunity to play. Now, you don't want him playing at the expense of Brandon Ayuk getting hurt, but finally we saw this guy in a wide receiver position. We also saw Ricky Pearsall get on the field. So whether or not the 49ers can win a Super Bowl, I don't know. I'm not overly concerned about it. I want to see them play good football. I want them to be clean. They have not been clean this year. Fortunately, they play in an average division. I don't think the division is weak by any stretch of the imagination. Are they as good as some other divisions? No, they're not. But some of the teams in this division can beat you. You saw how bad Seattle looked last Thursday. Geno Smith today was cooking. So, I think the 49ers will win the division. They'll get a opening round home game in the playoffs. And then we'll see what's up. It's a crapshoot. Anybody can win if you get into the playoffs. So we want to talk NFL, we can do that. Deshaun Watson People have been all over him this year as a quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. He hasn't played very well, but he hasn't had a running game either. When he finally gets his guy back, Nick Chubb, who scored a touchdown, he goes down for the year with a non-contact injury. And when you pull your Achilles, you know it instantly, I guess. I've never torn my Achilles, but for people who do, they pretty much know it's a wrap. Deshaun Watson has lost a lot of confidence. But when I watch him closely, I've seen signs that, this dude is starting to get it back. Making the type of throws that he made when he was a quarterback of the Houston Texans. I don't care who you are. You don't not play football at this level for 2 years and then come out and be Roger Staubach right away. It doesn't happen. So it's not even a conversation now. He's done for the year. And and some of the antics that took place after he got hurt by the Cleveland fans. I mean, come on, y'all. Really? I love fans who are really well-rounded fans. Fans who only cheer for players when they're winning or when they're doing well, don't cheer for me. Don't cheer for me. This dude is hurt. He's done for the year. He's hurt. When you want somebody cheering, happy because you got hurt, I don't get that. I honestly don't get that. At the same time, I'm not really like a diehard fan. I'm a fan of two things: my mother and the Knicks. That's it. And I mean vintage Knicks. I root for the Knicks now. But I was a fan when I was a child. As an adult, come on. As long as somebody's playing hard, they're giving 100%, I can't knock them. I might say put somebody else in, but to cheer when somebody gets hurt, that's horrible. Most fans are not like that. I get it. But when it happens, I think it's atrocious. All right. We got a lot to talk about. Mike Tomlin. When will people give this guy the props that he deserves? A brilliant football coach, a brilliant leader of men. And yet he just goes about his business. Pittsburgh Steelers 37-15 over the New York Jets. And I'm going to say this about the Jets. The Jets are 2-5. I think the Jets are going to be okay. It's no way they were going to go into Pittsburgh and beat Pittsburgh. Really? Wasn't going to happen. Mike Tomlin going to Russell Wilson, I thought, was a brilliant move. Smart. I'm going to tell you why. Because I think, and we'll talk about it more, but Russell Wilson signed with Pittsburgh before Justin Fields got there. And I believe that there was some conversations around him being the starter of the team. I think Mike Tomlin just kept his promise. That's all he did. It doesn't mean that you're going to be a starter if you don't play well. But you're going to have an opportunity to start. Secondly, I think Mike Tomlin has already made a decision on Justin Fields. They want him for the future. They think that he's going to be their quarterback for the future. Now, the future, I mean 3 years. It wouldn't surprise me if Justin Fields gets a contract, 3 years, $25 million a year, which is not chump change, but it's not crazy money either, comparatively speaking. Dak Prescott's making $60 million a year. But if you're Justin Fields and Pittsburgh offers you a contract to be the starter at $25 million a year, $50 million guaranteed, whatever, you'd be foolish not to take it. We can talk college football as well. I love the big dogs in college football. There's really not a big dog this year, and that coincides with the 12-team playoffs. I guess it's going to be kind of exciting because we really don't know who's going to win. But it hurts me to see Alabama look average. It really bothers me to see Alabama get cooked. And not necessarily lose. They can lose to a team, that might be better. I'm not convinced Tennessee's better than Alabama. And I'm sure you all listen to the program. You're not sure either. Give Tennessee credit, but I don't think they're better than Alabama. I think Alabama is not playing Alabama football. Colorado had a very impressive win over Arizona, 34-7. And they take on Cincinnati, the Bearcats, next Saturday. And that should quiet a lot of the noise. Right now, they're 5-2. And this game was big because they won 4 games early last year and they had a complete collapse. So the fact that they went on the road against Arizona and beat the snot out of them says a lot about Deion Sanders as a head coach. Even though a lot of folks don't like him, they think he's brash and all this good and all that stuff. What he has done is remarkable. It really is. I can't wait to see them play Cincinnati next week. So some of the things that's on my mind. NBA season starts on Tuesday. We'll get into that as well. Right now, let me go out and acknowledge some of the people that have been holding on. My man Key says, "What's up, Frank? If Ayuk is out for the year, I think we should trade Debo and Moody Ward, and start a mini rebuild and go all out next year. When you host Super Bowl, we're not okay. When we host Super Bowl, we're not a good team. We're average this year. Okay, I got you. Message. I hear you, Keys. Now I'm going to ask you to look at it from a perspective of a coach who actually does this to feed his family, or if you're a female coach, a coach who feeds her family. They can't lose. They got to give it everything that they have, because it is about winning and losing. That's what it's about. Unless your name is Steve Wilkes, and then you got to be a good fit for Shanahan. That's the thing that bothers me more than anything. They fired Steve Wilkes, the defensive coordinator, and essentially gave the job to somebody who was not on his level. Didn't even have the experience that he has. I say grip it up, get back to the fundamentals, and give 100%. I don't care if you're a rookie, all-pro, whatever. I don't care. Give 100%. Because I think your 100% in the 49ers system is going to get you to the playoffs. Once you get to the playoffs, anybody can win. There are some injuries, unfortunately, that's going to happen to some top-notch teams that we don't even know about yet. That's how brutal the game is. So the NFL, it's hard to be a prognosticator looking at the NFL because it's such a war of attrition. So strap it up. Remember how bad Seattle looked last week? You saw Geno Smith today? He looked like Warren Moon today. SG, what's up? How you doing? Steve-O, this is a great call. I call Mike Williams. Yeah. He's on a one-year deal with the Jets. I don't think he's in favor with the Jets. That's a name that I like. can the 49ers pay his salary? I don't know how the salary cap situation is, but Mike Williams is a name that I like. And although he's dropped more balls this year than I've seen that guy drop in his whole career. And you got to ask the question, can he run? Because the Jets signed Mike Williams on the premise that they were getting the San Diego Chargers Mike Williams. And he's coming off of an injury. The last thing the 49ers want to do is bring a guy in who's hurt. But I like him though. Talented cat. As she said, the 49ers got outscored. I mean, stop it, man. Why are we doing this? Insight. That's not insight. What's up, Frank? How about the new Moses Moody contract? You know what, man? I'm so happy for this kid, for this young man. You know how much acreage you can buy in Arkansas with $39 million? And I didn't realize that Moody was with Clutch. I think that might have something to do with it. People that try to knock Rich Paul, you're out of your mind. Rich Paul has made more millionaires in the past 20 years than any agent in basketball. I love for him to represent me. Get me some money, Rich Paul. I love it. His story is incredible. It really is. And from the Warriors' perspective, I think they did Moody right. Because when I looked at Moody, I said, okay, he's going to sign a 4 or 5 year deal in upwards of $70 to $80 million. If you extrapolate $13 million a year over 5 years, that's $65 million. They probably did not want to extend him that long. And if you got confidence in yourself, you don't want to be locked in a contract that long. 3 years, $39 million to me is right where it should be. I'm happy for both sides. It puts more pressure on Steve Kerr to actually put him in the game and give him a legitimate chance to play. And he's still a tradable piece. Other teams will want Moses Moody. I'm happy for that young man. And you know what? Here's the thing also. People think that being a good professional and being quiet doesn't pay off in professional sports. It does. These organizations, particularly the NBA, they make so much money that they could write you off in a second, and in a couple of years, people will not even remember who you were. Moses Moody has been a great Warrior. They trust him. This the $39 million that Moody is getting is not only a indication of what they think about him as a basketball player, but it's equally what they think about him as a human being. They're happy that he's going to be a part of their organization because he's a class act. I'm happy for him. Keys says Purdy has trouble with good defenses, or maybe Cal not being able to hide Purdy's weaknesses, or maybe Cal is getting predictable. I think that's a good take. I think it's a combination of all those things. Purdy's not a runner. He's not. He's a defensive runner. He's not an offensive runner. Steve Spagnuolo is the top defensive coordinator in the NFL. I would say Brian Flores is number 2, just based off history. Even though Brian Flores has a Super Bowl ring as the defensive coordinator of the New England Patriots. But let's give Spags his due. He looked at the tape and what he said to Kansas City: maintain gap discipline. That's it. We're going to keep him inside the pocket. We're not going to allow him to run outside our defensive ends. Do your job. Those guys are really disciplined. In a nanosecond, that pocket shrinks. How many balls did Purdy get batted down today? He's barely 6 feet tall. When Purdy has a clean pocket, he's top 5 from the pocket. When he's clean and he has, the Great Wall of China to throw behind, he's fantastic. But what did KC do? They squeezed the pocket. They made his perimeter small, and they got with him. That's going to be a problem moving forward if Shanahan, as you said, he can become predictable. If he doesn't become more creative, and that could be tough because he doesn't have the same players right now, they're going to be in trouble. I don't want Purdy to get hurt. That's one thing looking at him that kind of scares me because there's some savages out there. I like him being a defensive runner, which is what he is. But when he plays against these top-notch defenses like KC, they don't make mistakes. So he's not running to green grass. He's running into a defender who's in the spot that he's supposed to be in, ready to take your head off. So what do you need then? You need your players to make plays. The game is different if Brandon Ayuk catches that over-the-shoulder pass that Brock Purdy just laced perfectly over his right shoulder. Ayuk dropped the ball. That would have been possibly a 40-yard gain or maybe even a touchdown. Could have changed the entire complexion of the game. I want to see Shanahan create some plays in which he's going double tight end and not only having George Kittle as a primary option, but the other tight end as well. They don't have the talent on the outside like they've had before. And if they do have the talent with Cowan and Ricky Pearsall, it's going to take time to develop those guys. They might have to methodically work themselves up and down the football field and rely on their defense. I know a lot of fans don't want to see that, but that's winning football. And people sometimes, I hear people sometimes say, well, we don't want field goals. The Pittsburgh Steelers with their ferocious defense are focused on getting points. Their field goal kicker kicked 6 field goals this year and won a football game. You got to be resourceful and you got to be willing to do whatever it takes to win. And sometimes I think Shanahan can get fixated on this beautiful play sheet that he has and not deviate from that when the opposition is prepared to stop it. As he says, the 49ers have lost to the Chiefs 3 times in a row. 2 times in the Super Bowl and 1 time in the regular season. Yeah, I don't really care about that. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if I'm a player, I'm looking on the next win. I'm going to tell you something. I've coached at 4 different high schools. Every high school that I've coached at, the team was not very good when I took the team over. The first year that I coached a team, we were like 3-24. They had never won, had never gone to the playoffs. We didn't even win a league game. But the culture was being set. The next year, we won, I think, 2 league games. By year 3, we were in the playoffs. Going for a state championship. In the playoffs. If you can't sell it to your players, you shouldn't be coaching. You got to sell it. And then you got to go execute. thoughts on 67-62 win by the New York Liberty over the Minnesota Lynx. I'm happy, man. I'm happy. Sabrina Ionescu is my favorite player, and she didn't have a great game tonight. I don't care. It was a total team effort. They beat what I think is an outstanding Minnesota Lynx team. And, I mean, think about this. The New York Liberty, I think this is the fourth time they've been to the finals. They had never won a title before. The WNBA has been in existence for over 20 years. So this is a big deal. And it might be a great omen for my Knicks. Can you imagine the Knicks making the finals? You know how happy I would be? New York City will host a ticker tape parade honoring the New York Liberty. They should. They should. Good for them. The Big 25. What is up? Shanahan has no accountability. He has too much control and answers to nobody for his mistakes. You might be right. But the iron is getting hot. And I'm not one of these people who's fire Shanahan. Fire Shanahan. No, I'm not one of those people. But I think that accountability is appropriate. I don't think that Shanahan is negotiating contracts, but I think the IU negotiation was handled totally wrong unless you were going to trade the guy. If you're going to trade him and walk away from him, fine. Some people would be happy and others would be pissed off, but you would be definitive. Why spend the whole summer not having one of your top players in camp, in shape, signed, and mentally focused on the team? That didn't happen. And I think it hurt the team. SG says, you should get a job in the professional broadcasting industry. Oh, really? I am a pro. Thank you. You know, feel good. I'm just talking to you. I am a pro. Yeah. But that's not important. I do this because it's fun. Because I care. Because people like you tune in and listen and watch. Hopefully I'm not breaking your screen. Do you think Kuminga should start? Absolutely. My man Keys. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think Kuminga should start, and I think he should be held accountable. But I've always been a big fan of my players. The only way Kuminga shouldn't start is if there are 5 players on the Warriors who are better than him. And they're not, as far as I'm concerned. If I was the Warriors, I would bring, for the first 10 games, I might start Draymond at the 5. That's not really what I want to do. But I can see the Warriors starting Draymond, Wiggins, Kuminga, Curry. It wouldn't surprise me if Kerr put Pozinski out there. I would start DeAnthony Melton. And then I would love to see Wiggins morph into the best 6th man in all of basketball. I would love to see that. I would love it. Or if the Warriors sign Kuminga to a contract before, I think 7 p.m. tomorrow, at least $185 million. I wouldn't go beyond that. I wouldn't have a problem bringing him off the bench once he gets paid. But if you have a player like Kuminga coming off the bench and he hasn't been paid yet, then you're messing with his money. And I don't think that's right, particularly when his peers and players who are comparable to him have already been paid. Because a lot of fans, a lot of people don't quite understand. It really is about the money. It is always about the money. And then it's about everything else. You know? So, you know, let's get this young man paid. If you don't want to pay him, then trade him. Because somebody else is going to pay him. It's always about the money. Thoughts on the Dodgers getting a 10-5 win over the Mets to advance the World Series to face the Yankees? I've said for several weeks, if the Yankees wasn't playing the Dodgers in the World Series, I'm not that interested. I'm not. The last time I was interested in the World Series is when my guy, Dusty Baker, won his first World Series championship. If it wasn't for Dusty Baker, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. Dusty Baker gave me my first professional interview. It was one of the happiest days of my life. It went from an interview, it went from hanging out with Dusty for 3 or 4 hours at Candlestick, and then we did like a 30, 45-minute interview. But he and I just kind of hung out for like 3 hours. Can you imagine that? Hanging out with somebody who you've been watching since you were a kid? What a cool guy. Great guy. And I mean, you see how comfortable he is on TBS as an analyst? Dusty's the man. And I'm so happy that he won his World Series title. And now, you know, Dodgers, Yankees, that's interesting. You got Shohei, you got Judge, you got Soto, you got Herrera. Juan Carlos. This should be fun. This is good for baseball. Thoughts on the Golden State Warriors waiving, stop it. Are you kidding me? Why are we talking about this? Why? Those guys didn't have a chance of making the team. Kevin Knox, you know, I don't even think he's going to be on the G League team. But this is a tough business, man. That's why when I see rookies Cadillacing it, not giving 100%, are you out of your mind? I don't know which pro that I heard talking, but he was like, there's only about 60 jobs a year to turn over. On average, about 60 jobs a year. You need to play like you literally trying to get out of a burning building. That's how intense you need to be if you want to have a career in the NBA. I always think of my guy, Mario Elie. You know, the 3-time NBA champion, who I know, who I'm friendly with. His journey was crazy. Multiple 10-day contracts to finally getting a guaranteed contract, to finally becoming a starter, winning a couple of titles, winning another with San Antonio. I think that's missing with some of our young players. You know, they think even back in the day, if you were a first-round pick, your contract was guaranteed for like 4 or 5 years. 6 years if they really liked you. Not anymore. First-round picks sign 2-year contracts now. These owners ain't playing. Southern Justin, Iowa. Interesting name. How you doing? Pleasure. The Jets fans can't blame Salah anymore. Yeah, I didn't like that. I mean, but hold on. Let me say this, though. Did Salah act like a head coach? No, he didn't. And that's unfortunate because somebody needed to mentor him and coach him up because he's clearly a talented football coach. But when we saw Aaron Rodgers basically punk him on the sidelines before a national audience, it was a wrap. He was done. You know, and Aaron Rodgers conveniently says, "You guys think I have more power than I have. I didn't fire the coach." It's not about whether or not you fired the coach. Did you save the coach? That's the question. Did you save him? Did you go E40? No, you did not. And that caption that I'm talking about now, that fired him. Aaron, you fired him when you pushed him and treated him like he was like, you know, somebody who stole your lunch money, took your lunch money. You know, when you wasn't looking, you left it on the table. Somebody took it. He was done. And this is how cold the game is. Like Karras once said, you didn't hear a peep from Queens and the bridge is over. You haven't heard a peep from Robert Saleh. Know why? If you say anything negative about the organization, you don't get paid. Particularly when you're dealing with a billionaire who can run you and just hold you up in court for 10, 20 years, drain all your money in lawyer fees trying to get your money. You got to eat that. It's tough, but that's coaching. You know what I'm saying? Robert Saleh will get another D coordinator job, and we'll see what happens. If I'm a coach and I want to run the show, I would have no problem going to college. This is me. I know that I've never been an NFL coach, so I can't speak about the differences. But if I want to run the show, I would want to run the show anywhere. It wouldn't be exclusive to the NFL. I would coach in college in a second. Even though it's a different set of variables, I would still do it. Key says, do you think the Lakers or Warriors have a better record this year? Wow, that's a great question. I'm going to say the Warriors, but it's only going to be by, say, 3 games. I think the Warriors can win as many as 49 games, somewhere between, I think, 45 and 49 games. The Lakers are probably going to top out at around 46. I think the Lakers have a lower floor, you know, because I think the Lakers are top heavy. One of the things the Warriors did was they went out and got more players this year. So they're not as top heavy this year. And I like that. With the exception of Dalton Connect, the Raiders really, the Lakers really didn't go out and get anybody. Now, you can say Vincent is kind of a new player because he was hurt most of last year, and I like Vincent. But, Anthony Davis played a ton of games last year. If he gets hurt, they cooked. You know, the Warriors actually had a really good year last year when you consider Draymond didn't play in 26 games. It's amazing. So I think the Warriors are going to have a better record than the LA Lakers. Southern Just. I agree about coaching in college for Saleh. Yeah, man. You make a ton of money. You work your tail off. and you really get a chance to influence the lives of young people. The pros is different. You got owners sometimes partying with players, you know. The NFL is a business. That's all. It's more business than anything else. They don't care about your feelings. They don't care if you're right or wrong. That's not what they care about. They don't care. So the thing that upsets me about Robert Saleh is, from an X and O perspective, he seemed ready. But in terms of leading men at that level, he didn't understand what all of his responsibilities were. Even in the Hard Knocks, he was kind of foaming at the mouth over Aaron Rodgers. Oh, look at Aaron. Oh, look at that pass. I mean, come on, dude. You got to coach Aaron Rodgers. I've been fired a couple of times. It's okay. When you do your job well and you get fired as a coach, it could be a myriad of things. Most of the time, it has nothing to do with what you're actually doing in your job. There's some politics involved. You got to stand your ground. You got to coach people. You have to model well. You know, I think that's where Robert Saleh missed it. Sometimes you got to be a prick. That's part of coaching. You're not trying to be, but sometimes you have to acknowledge that sometimes you are. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. Everything that is right doesn't necessarily coincide with what somebody wants you to do. Keith says, Warriors were very lucky Clay didn't sign that extension. We got Milton, Hield, and Anderson for that money. And we under the cap. Keith, that's a great take. And on the strength, Mike Dunleavy Jr. might be GM of the year this time. I mean, and I don't know when to give the awards out. Was it May or June? He might be general manager of the year because of what you just explained. I think everybody wishes Clay well, but to get Buddy Hield at essentially $8 million a year, I guess Cal might make $8 million, I don't know, and DeAnthony Milton I know makes $13 million. So yeah, for you know, a decent amount of money, the Warriors got 3 legitimate players. That's a good look. I mentioned a little bit about college football. Jalen Milroe has gone from probably a top 15 pick. I don't even know if he's going to be in the first round this year. And, you know, he has to take some accountability for that. He hasn't played really well. But he's been reckless. And I think a lot of it has to do with coaching. There's no way Jalen Milroe should be throwing the football 40 times a game. He's not that type of quarterback. He's a 20 to 30 time a game max guy. You know, he's a running quarterback who can throw. He's not a pocket quarterback. And I've never seen Alabama without a running game. You know? Oregon legitimately should be the number 1 team in the nation. And they are. Do I think Oregon's going to win a national championship? I don't think so. I don't. I can't put my finger on it. I mean, Georgia's good, but is Georgia the best team in the nation? Maybe. Maybe not. I think Texas kind of went out with a whimper. I wasn't expecting that to be as non-competitive as I think that they were against Georgia. I thought they'd be better. And maybe by the end of the year they will be. But that was not a good look on Saturday. With regards to the Heisman Trophy, right now it's a two-player race. Cam Ward, the Miami quarterback, who I saw up close and personal a couple of weeks ago out of Cal, and the kid Genty, the running back from Boise State, who was off this week but is just running wild. Obviously, Travis Hunter was in the conversation before he got hurt. Maybe if Colorado continues to win, he will get back into the conversation. You could argue that Shedeur Sanders should be talked about in that light as well. I think if Colorado continues to win and he continues to put up crazy numbers, then he'll be in that conversation. But right now, the two players that stand out are Cam Ward and Genty, the running back from Boise State. The Warriors' first game of the year is against the Portland Trailblazers, I believe on Wednesday night. How do y'all feel about that? Portland has talent. Yeah, you got to put the pieces together, but it's not like they don't have talent. I think if Chauncey doesn't get it together, he's going to be out of here. And I mean, 3 years is the amount of time that a team, an organization can respectfully look you in the face without any BS and say, you know what? We gave it a chance, but it didn't work. 3 years. This is Chauncey's third year. After 3 years, as long as you got NBA players, you should start to establish an identity. You should be good at something after 3 years. Portland, for the past 2 years, notwithstanding the injuries, they have not developed an identity. And if it doesn't happen probably before the All-Star break, I think Chauncey's going to be out of here because that's a talented team. I think they would be better off had they let Damian Lillard go to Miami. I still believe that. But they spent too much time patting themselves on the back about all the assets that they were getting. You know, an asset is only as good as it becomes, as it evolves into something tangible. But they got personnel. It'll be interesting. I think the Warriors are going to take Portland on Wednesday. I'm interested to see how this new Warrior outfit gels together. And, you know, Stephen Curry as well. Steph's kind of got off to kind of a slow start, and he normally does in the preseason because guys want to play him really hard and really fast, and the referees are not calling what they need to be calling or what they will call at the start of the season. So Steph looks a little slow out there with all these young players, you know, pressing up on him and you know, trying to play their best against him. But things usually work out. Key says, did you see fans throw things on the field for Texas versus Georgia? And have you experienced any similar incidents as an athlete? Nothing to that extreme, but I did. It was funny. I don't know if you know the college, Fairfield University. And it was kind of all in fun. But, you know, I think people would throw like honey buns. Nah, not really. I mean, at Fairfield, they kind of threw something on the court a couple of times, but Nothing compared to that. No. Even when I played football, I've never experienced that. The most thing I could say in college was people making signs and stuff like that. Like they would make signs about me being on steroids and stuff like that. I laugh because it certainly wasn't true. But what was more egregious to me about people throwing stuff on the field was the fact that the referees took that as an opportunity to change the call. Even if it was right. I mean, referees make bad calls all the time. I mean, when you consider betting as well, I mean, geez. But yeah, that was, I'm not that way. I don't understand fandom. I don't get it. I don't boo. I don't understand booing. I don't understand cursing at players, yelling things, throwing stuff on the court. No, come on, man. I don't get that. Now, I'm not out there shaking my hand at anybody saying you shouldn't do this or do that. No, I'm just saying do what you want to do. I'm just saying me personally, because it's not something that I believe in. And I did see it. It bothers me to see Michigan go from winning a national championship to looking very average. And, for obvious reasons, I wanted them to be successful this year. I like Michigan, but, the brother got a job, a top-notch job. And they're not even going to be in the top 25 this week. In spite of not having a quarterback. You know you didn't have a quarterback when you took the job. Transfer portal? Michigan should never be bad in college football. They're like Duke. They should never be bad. Some schools should never be bad. Kansas in basketball, Ohio State in football. I mean, but the worst story in college football has to be USC. USC lost to Maryland 29-28. When I checked, I was at the gym working out. They were up 14 points. And I realized they lost. I was like, how did that happen? I get Stanford. Stanford was going to get their butts kicked. Traveling all around the country. I can't wait till they go back to the Pac-12. I know some people say they can't get out of the contract. The ACC is the last place Stanford should be. And in spite of Cal being more competitive than I thought that they would be, they shouldn't be in the ACC either. The quality of the games are better, at least for Cal. I can't lie. They play better teams, but they're not beating better teams. Cal could legitimately be 6-1 or 7-0. And yet they're 3-4, having lost 4 games in a row. Pretty sad. And do you expect field goal kickers to make kicks? I do. But they miss. Do I want to hedge my entire sports life on somebody making a field goal? No. Every once in a great while, I guess, but you want to go out and crush the opposition. Cal deserves better. They play good football, and yet they've lost 4 games in a row. So, I saw something today on ESPN. It was like ESPN Clutch, And it was basically a video on Jaylen Brown and his journey to where he is now. Pretty good. Pretty good. It takes you back, I believe, to 2016 or 17 when he was at Cal. And he came to Oakland to watch the Warriors in the finals. And even at that point, he was talking about what he thought his journey would be. And just stamping the fact that one day he would be in the finals and he would win it. And everything that he said basically came to fruition. And props to that guy. I hope that he gets the opportunity to be on the Olympic team in Los Angeles in 28. He has a good chance, but there's some good players coming up. It'll be interesting to see if he can continue to evolve as a basketball player. He's already one of the top players in the game right now. In college basketball this year, I think most of you kind of know if you follow the sport, but we're getting ready for a Caitlin Clark experience. Number 2. Cooper Flag at Duke. You know, I mean, this is like Robbie Benson. I know some of you all might be too young, but if you ever get a chance to check out this movie called One-on-One with this player named Robbie Benson. That was his character name. It's awesome. That's Cooper Flag. I mean, can you imagine what it's like to have cameras on you 24/7 as an 18-year-old kid in college? You know, it's going to be interesting. I don't think he's going to crash and burn. I think he's going to be everything that people think that he's going to be. I just hope he doesn't get hurt. He's a hell of a talent. And I mean, the ratings for college basketball this year are going to be really high. And the numbers are going to excite, I think, college basketball fans again. Cooper's only going to be there for 1 year, but it's going to be a fantastic year, I think, in men's and women's basketball. So get ready for that. It's going to be fun. Joel Barragon, what's the deal? Yo, how's it going, Frank? Yo, man, I'm happy. I'm maintaining, you know, doing my thing. I want to thank you for checking me out, brother. Thank you. The legend, Mark Graves. How you doing, my guy? One-on-One was a very good movie. Absolutely. Yeah. One of my favorite movies as a kid. And I love basketball movies. And you're happy, and Mark says happy for Moses Moody. Yeah, me too. You know, Mark, I just said that a lot of young people or people in general might not think that being a good person matters. But it does matter. It's about your talent. There's no doubt about that. But when you are in a billion-dollar business, they want great citizens in their company, in their organization. It's that important. $1 billion is 1,000 million. 1,000 million. The NBA signed for, what was it, 70 million or whatever it is? Crazy, a crazy number. They could pay Moses Moody 1,000 times. But they wouldn't if he wasn't a great guy, if he wasn't coachable. You know, there's a lesson to be learned. Do your best, do your job, be a good person. Key says, I saw Dante DiVincenzo was fired up playing the Knicks. Seems like he's mad. Yeah, I saw that too, Keys. I'm going to tell you this. I'm glad that we got an opportunity to see some honest emotion from a player, from a person, as opposed to kind of like bottling it up, keeping it inside. No, he showed, yo, I'm upset by this. And I mean, one of the reasons why I think he was pissed off about it is because Dante did not maximize his financial potential. Was New York the right spot for him? Absolutely. It was a perfect fit. Did he go out and show that it was a perfect place for him? Yes. I miss him not wearing a New York Knicks uniform. But I believe he took less money to sign with New York. And yeah, professional sports is tough. The Knicks got to make tough decisions. The Knicks might have even offered Josh to Minnesota. And they might have said, you know what? We don't want Josh. We want Dante. So I think they had to make the deal because Karl Anthony Towns makes the Knicks a more lethal team, more competitive. And I actually think they can beat Boston. I do. I just hate to see Dante go. But, you know, things could be a hell of a lot worse. He could not be in the NBA. But yeah, I saw that, and thank you for acknowledging that, Mark. I appreciate you, brother. How's Cat blending in? So far, so good. I think he looks okay. You know, his numbers will go down. There's no doubt about that. But I mean, he signed an extension with Minnesota for $259 million. So he's paid. Anything that Thibodeau or any of the other coaches ask him to do, he should do it with a smile and focus on winning the championship. You know, the Knicks have adopted the blueprint of the Boston Celtics. They should pay Brad Stevens a consulting fee. You know, because they took his playbook and implemented it in New York. A 7-foot plus 3-point shooting center. Although I think he has a better post game than Porzingis. I'm not saying he's a better player. I think he has a better post game. I think they're comparable. The Knicks are good. The Knicks are damn good. And they're going to prove it this year. Mark Graves says, is there no trade contracts in the NBA? I haven't heard of anyone having one. Yeah. Only a few players have them. I don't think Steph Curry ever got one. LeBron has one, I believe. And Damian Lillard had one in Portland. So on rare occasions, players will get no trade clauses, but for the most part, it's not very prevalent in the NBA. It's more prevalent in MLB. I don't know about the NFL, but they don't give out no trade clauses in the NBA very often. Like I said, I don't think Steph Curry even has one, which is crazy. But I get it. I mean, when you're going to pay somebody that kind of money, you want to have the flexibility to make a move if you have to. I'm interested in getting an honest take on the 49ers. If you're a 49er fan, the team is 3-4. I think they're going to beat Dallas. If they can't beat Dallas, if the Dallas Cowboys somehow beat them, I would be really surprised by that. The Dallas Cowboys are reeling right now, and I'm sure Jerry Jones is like, why did I pay Dak? Why did I pay CD Lamb? if they wasn't going to improve the whole team. And I was happy to see. You guys heard Troy Aikman slam those wide receivers and basically tell the truth and go like, you know what, these guys are trash. They run terrible routes. They don't go and get the football. And it's Dak's fault. I love that about Troy Aikman. He's honest. He's a pretty good broadcaster, I think, as well. Over the past couple of weeks also, I want to quiet some noise. And I said it last week, I'm going to say it again. All of this Brady hate, Tom Brady is a terrible announcer. Give me a freaking break. He's not. That's just straight jealousy to me. Now, he has a very high voice. He does. I think he should take vocal lessons and learn how to project, because he has a very high voice. And because his voice is high, unless you're listening very intently, some of the great commentary that he offers gets lost because he doesn't have a very deep, demonstrative voice. It's very high. But to imply that this guy doesn't know football is bananas. Totally false. Why is Tom Brady part owner of the Raiders? Do the Patriots hate him? Interesting question. I don't think that the Patriots owner want to give up any of those millions. Now here's the deal. The Raiders are a promotional dumpster fire. That's why Tom Brady was given a sweetheart deal to be part owner of the Raiders. Now, I had heard various numbers in terms of percentages. Does he have 5%? Does he have 10%? What was the price that he paid? You know that he probably didn't pay market value. Just like there's a good chance Stu Bird didn't pay market value to be a co-owner of the Seattle Storm. I don't know what she paid, but usually those deals are in favor of the celebrity owner. It doesn't mean it wasn't a lot of money, but you talk about a sweet deal for Brady. The Raiders, as they are now, by some reports, are worth as much as $6 billion. So Tom Brady's deal is valued at $300 million or $600 million, allegedly. And what is he going to be for the Raiders? I think he'll be involved in evaluation, particularly of quarterbacks, but he's going to be, hopefully for them, a PR game changer. Because they need it. And some people think that they are a laughingstock until they check the ATM machine. The Raiders are a home run financially. But would you sacrifice never having a home field advantage to make money? Think about that. Every home game that the Raiders play, there's a good chance that more than 50% of the fans are representing the other team. Is it sold out? Probably. Do the casinos and the hotels make money? Of course. But think about your players. I can't imagine the Raiders being good in quite some time. Now, there's some irony there, though. They play really hard for Pierce, for Antonio Pierce. They play hard. They really do. But they don't play well. But they do play hard. Anybody says they don't play hard for Antonio Pierce, I think is lying, because they do play hard. But who thought that the Raiders were going to win football games with O'Connell or Minshew as the starting quarterback? Gardner Minshew. Give me a break. Both of them are probably decent backups in the NFL. They're not starting quarterbacks. If I'm a fan, if I'm a real Raider fan, I'm pissed off. Showing up every week, getting my teeth kicked in. Guess what, y'all? This weekend, I saw the movie. Well, I saw the best movie that I've seen this year on Friday night. I'm going to talk to you about it a little bit. It's a movie called Exhibiting Forgiveness. And it was directed by a gentleman by the name of Titus Kaphar. He spells Kaphar, K-A-P-H-A-R. First name Titus, T-I-T-U-S. And the title of the film is called Exhibiting Forgiveness. It's a tiny independent film, but it's so well written, it's so well acted, that if you are a fan of cinema, you should give this movie a chance. It's a phenomenal movie. And what is it about? I think I can tell you some of it without spoiling it for you. The movie is essentially about a father and a son who have a lot to talk about because of how the son was treated when he was a child. The father has gone through trials and tribulations in his life, and he's at the point where he wants to make amends with his son. This chance meeting was orchestrated by his ex-wife, because I don't think that they're still married, but they still are connected emotionally. Even though they're living separate lives, they still have that connection because of the birth of their children. And the son, who doesn't really want to have a relationship with the father, has become a great success in his career. And he wants to move on for a lot of different reasons. A lot of it deals with emotional trauma. And I can relate to it. And I don't want to say that one race over another would be able to relate to the movie. That might be the case. I'm not going to say that. What I am going to say is that if you are a young boy who's now an adult and you've had some strife in building relationships with your biological father, and all of a sudden you're two adults now trying to find some solace, this is the movie for you. Audra Day, the great singer, plays the wife of the son, and a lot of great music. The acting and the writing is phenomenal. I don't want to give too much away, but I think that you should check it out. I really do. And the movie is called Exhibiting Forgiveness. That's what it's called. Aussie Rules. Hey, Frank and all. What's up? How's Silent? How's the weather? Is it still warm out there? I assume it is. I would love to get me a bag of fresh watermelon, a pineapple with a stick, like I used to buy in Thailand, or some pad thai. Oh man, you're a lucky man, Aussie Rules. We're just talking, my brother. Thank you for tuning in tonight. I appreciate you. Or in your case, it's about 12 or 1, about 12:30 in the afternoon, I think it is, over there in Thailand. I've never talked so much on the radio or on a platform in my life. I actually was on the post-game show with Larry Kruger after the game. We did a couple of hours along with my man Rye, Dan, and young Kevin Kruger, who's starting his ascension in this business. And we're coming up on 90 minutes here as well. So I want to thank everybody for checking me out. We're going to talk for a couple of more minutes, and then we will break it down and allow you to get ready for the week. My man Keith asked me, he says, any thoughts on the similarity between Jerry Jones and Son running the Cowboys, Joe Lacob and Son being very involved? Wow, that's a great question. I mean, there's some similarities, but there's some differences. Up until recently, or maybe we're not there. I think while the Warriors owner, Joe Lacob, writes the checks, knows basketball, has opinions, is not afraid to voice his opinions, I think he still allowed Bob to do his job as a general manager, you know? But I think Bob, I don't know, I'm not going to speak for Bob, the former general manager of the Golden State Warriors. But Bob was very successful, obviously, winning 4 titles. But I think moving forward, I think those phone calls or those knocks on the door from Joe Lacob and possibly his son as well are a little louder, maybe a little more forceful to Mike Dunleavy Jr. I don't know. But I think that's the difference. I think that the Lakers still, as far as we know, still respects the lines of how the business should be run. Yeah, he writes the checks, but I still think that Joe Lacob wants to create an organization in which people feel comfortable doing their jobs. The Cowboys, Jerry runs the show. He's the owner, and he runs the show. He cuts the checks. He decides who's going to get paid, who's not going to get paid. He probably delves into scouting and everything, which is why last week you heard him so pissed off and almost indignant on the radio when he was talking to, I'm talking about Jerry Jones, he was talking to a couple of yappers. I call them yappers. You know, because these coach shows, these owner shows, I mean, it's all giggles and air hugs. These are not meant to be serious interviews. Everybody knows that. So when you start asking serious questions, ain't nothing wrong with that if everybody knows the score. You should be allowed to do your job. Jerry Jones was like, didn't you read the fine print of your contract? You're not allowed to blame me for things that I do wrong unless you talk about things I did right 3 years ago. Kind of ridiculous, but not a big fan of owners doing radio shows or television shows. Just not. Why? Because it demeans, and maybe not demean, but it certainly diminishes the power of your head coach. It has to. They're looking above you. They're saying, well, you ain't really the man. I don't think the Warriors have run their organization that way. But things could change. You never know in the future. Great question. RC Rules says, reported Shanahan chewed out Purdy in front of the press in the locker room after Kyle's presser. Seems to convey Shanahan blaming Purdy for the loss. Wouldn't talking to Purdy privately be more appropriate? I think so. I didn't know that he had chewed Purdy out publicly. That doesn't. I mean, that seems very uncharacteristic of Shanahan. Not that he wouldn't get in him or talk to him about some things he needed to talk to, but a public scolding, no matter how upset you were, I don't think that was the appropriate thing to do. I should tell my players, I said, listen, no matter how bad things are with our team, no matter how bad you might play, it's always my fault. I'm responsible for it. And when things are going well and we're playing well, it's never because of me. It's always because of you. And that's kind of how, that's the coaching philosophy that I've always had. And I believe that that is the case. That's how you build trust among coaches and players. With that said, Shanahan changed Purdy's life. And if he did scold him a little bit, I think they can get over that because he's put Brock Purdy in a position to do some incredible things and have a great career for himself. Those are some bad picks, particularly the one in the second half into the end zone. That was just terrible. Things happen. I mean, we've seen Dak Prescott make those inexplicable interceptions more than a few times. So it does happen. It happens to everybody. It's happened to Pat Mahomes. It's happened to Josh Allen. You know, it happens. So, you know, lick your wounds and get ready for next week. Now, the game against the Dallas Cowboys is a must-win for the 49ers. If they don't beat Dallas next week and they go to 3-5, they're not making the playoff. If they beat Dallas and they're 4-4, I think that they're fine. Even going 3-5, I don't even think they'll win the division because I think that the team morale, the continuity, the confidence, all that stuff goes out the window. They need to beat Dallas. If you're a Dallas fan, you need to beat the 49ers. Absolutely. Austin says Purdy saved Kyle and Lynch too after Lance debacle. No question about it. No question. But we're getting close to the point where Purdy has to be paid. So things are a little different now. So, you know, it's getting tight. All right, everybody. Hopefully everybody listening has hit that like button. I love to find out how many likes I have because it helps the show. And I can't see it while the program is happening. I don't know until I sign off. So do me a favor and hit the like button if you can. And if you have not subscribed and you're listening for the first time and you like the show, please subscribe to it also. My name is Frank Red. Follow me on X and on Twitter. I like to engage in conversation. And yeah. Gabriel, what does 9 mean? Help me out. What's that mean? Oh, 9 likes. Okay. I assume 9 likes. I like big time. Thanks, Frank. Have a good evening. I appreciate you. And thank you, Gabriel, for giving me the update. Let me do my thing and get out of here, y'all. Success and getting paid is a manifestation of the whole process. If you as an individual don't do things to help other people make their lives better, as far as I'm concerned, you haven't done nothing. My name is Frank Red. I want to thank you again for checking in the Dungeon Show out. I will be making appearances on some other platforms, so be on the lookout for that. But you can always check me out here on Sunday nights, 9 o'clock Pacific time. And every now and then I'll jump on during the week as well. All right? Take care. Good night. Peace.